No, I'm just relieved you both had the same experience because I was almost, you don't ever want to be like that person on an episode where everybody else is like, oh man, this treasure, and you're like, fuck your treasure. Like you don't want to be like that negative person.
No. I guess I've only done a few of these shows with Chris, and fortunately I haven't been in that position, but like I watched it, Love at First Bite, and I sort of like had that reaction of like, this is awful. Like, what did I just watch? Because I remember it being really popular when it came out. So the next thing I did was, after I was doing my research and writing everything down, I'm like, I want to see some of the old reviews from the time period. And like most of them, there were some that are like, it was really kind of ribald, coarse fun, but all of them still tend to mention like, there's a lot of really off-color jokes. A lot of them don't land, but it's kind of funny. And I was like, well, you're damning it with really faint praise. Like, it was very like, oh, it's pretty good. I don't know how it was a big blockbuster back then, because it was so, just putting aside, like I said, like the off-color, racist jokes and offensive bits. It wasn't funny, and it was so slow. Like, I was just like, I don't know what everyone thought of this movie back then. It was ridiculous.
What were they thinking, indeed? A question probably on the minds of listeners everywhere who have tuned into the Kulturecast. That's right, this is a Kulturecast takeover. Hi there, this is Father Malone sitting in for Chris Stachiw, who is, I don't know, he's somewhere in the world today. But we are here to discuss the film Love at First Bite from 1979, directed by Stan Dragoti, written by Robert Kaufman, starring George Hamilton, Susan St. James, Richard Benjamin, Dick Shawn, Artie Shaw, Sherman Hemsley, Isabel Sanford, and Michael Pataki.
There is a creature of the night whose very name strikes terror in the hearts of man. He fears only mirrors, the scent of garlic, and the sight of a crucifix. He feeds upon human blood. Only sunlight or a stake driven through his heart can destroy him or those whose blood he drinks. His name is Dracula.
I love you, and I can give you eternal life.
I knew it, an insurance salesman. I've already got Prudential.
I love the nightlife. I've got to boogie on the disco ride.
Oh my, are you biting me?
Oh.
It was wild.
How many times did he bite you?
Oh, that. Just once. I told you it was our first date.
I won't let him get her.
I love the nightlife.
Well, Count, what do you say to that?
I would say leave Cindy alone and find yourself a nice Jewish girl, Doctor.
That's the other one, isn't it?
Dracula in New York. His style is irresistible. His curiosity is irrepressible. And when he takes a bite out of the Big Apple, his appetite is insatiable.
If you're hungry, master, we could ring for the night maid.
When you is gone, nobody's gonna bring you back here once you is dead.
Good evening.
Master, please be careful.
What is it?
You nearly stepped on my dinner.
Bon appetit.
I heard a rooster crow.
A rooster in New York City?
I cannot believe what I'm hearing.
It's him.
Yeah, or a rock group.
The second way to kill a vampire, Count. 3 silver bullets through the heart.
No, Rosenberg. That is a werewolf.
Really? Are you sure? I've lost her forever. He's drained all the blood out of her.
George Hamilton.
His blood in your eyes.
Susan St. James. Richard Benjamin. Dick Shawn. Sherman Hemsley. Isabel Sanford. And Artie Johnson as Renfield.
Finally, after 712 years, to have someone bite me again. Love at First Bite.
Yeah.
All right. And joining us here, a frequent collaborator on the Culture Cast, Mondo, Heather's own Heather Drain. How are you, Heather?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
And the wolf to my Raisin, the Night Mr. Walter's own taxi podcast, Mr. HP.
Hello out there. Thank you very much for having me here. Glad to be here.
Heather, what was your first exposure to Love at First Bite?
My first experience with Love at First Bite was I saw it on, I believe, TBS when I was a little kid. And of course, being a little monster kid who was obsessed with Dracula and vampires, immediately watched it. And of course, I also love comedies because who doesn't love to laugh? And when I was a little kid, I loved it. I thought it was fun. I loved Artie Johnson in it. And because it's Artie Johnson and he's great. That's not my experience now with the movie, but that was my experience. My first experience with it.
HP, same question. First time with Love at First Bite.
So my first experience was probably right after we got cable TV, where in my childhood home. And I just remember, I don't know that I ever watched the whole movie in sequence as a kid, but it was on so much. And I just remember the trailer. And as we were talking about that iconic dance scene with I Love the Nightlife. And yeah, that was pretty much it. I mean, I obviously you don't know what passes for good or bad movies when you're that little. So I going into this viewing, I was unsure what my reaction was going to be, and it was very different from what I expected based on what I built up in my mind as a child. How about you, Father Malone?
I saw this movie in the theater. My parents took me to see it. We saw it at the General Cinemas Twin in Saugus, as I remember. And I remember
it well.
I remember feeling so adult that I got to see this movie, and it was off color, and I was just in love with it. And my most vivid memory of the movie isn't really the movie itself, but in the opening credits it said, "And Artie Johnson as Renfield." And 6-year-old me said, "And Artie Johnson as Renfield" out loud. And my father turned to my mother and said, "God, they're teaching him good at that school." That's my most vivid memory of Love at First Bite. And I loved the movie. I thought it was hilarious. I think I understood it on the way that they were sort of presenting it, which is like, what happens if Dracula of the old school meets the new age whateverness, you know? And, but now re-experiencing it, oh my God, for all the reasons y'all have mentioned as far as the casual racism and sexism and just off-colored nonsense of the movie, for me the main problem is it now I recognize falls into a category that I fucking hate, which is baby boomers figuring out their shit. You know, there was an entire raft of these movies, usually starring Martin Mull, like in the late 70s. Fred Willard is probably in there too. And like, I'm not making fun of those guys. I love them as performers and whatever. But there seemed to be a whole lot of hot tubs in movies and new agey bullshit and a bunch of fucking ex-hippies going like, now I'm in the regular world. What am I doing? I don't care what you're doing. Anyway. I might be being a little harsh on Love at First Bite for that, but that really sang through to me while I was rewatching it. Like, ugh, like you took what is a charming idea of like old school Bela Lugosi Dracula thrust into the Big Apple and like the dating scene, and you just peppered it with fucking all your nonsense with the therapy and the fucking, you know, ugh. Anyway,
you know what's interesting? Like the version I saw when they do the big dance scene, the song wasn't "I Love the Nightlife."
Right.
I guess they had some rights issues. It was some other song. Was that
all the video reproductions could not have the song on it? So I don't know what the song was that they replaced it with.
It was
fine. I mean, it was fine.
I grew
it's
up
not
with
fine.
I Love the Nightlife. No, that I Love the Nightlife. The use of that with that scene was iconic for me as a child.
Yeah, I agree.
And then when I rewatched it for this, on top of everything else that was an issue with the movie, I was like, what the fuck is this song? I'm like, what is this like generic? Like, I mean, Alicia Bridges is rolling in her grave. Wait, is she dead?
I don't know.
She's probably alive.
Probably. I looked her up. She's a dead ringer for Angie Bowie, which I didn't expect. But
if Angie Bowie was like a truck driver from like Lexington. I love Alicia Bridges.
I do too. I've never seen this movie without the actual song.
I only remember as a kid, like the trailer playing on cable was the chorus from I Love the Nightlife. That was, like you said, it was iconic, Heather.
Yeah.
And then it kind of came and went, and I went, wait a minute, that song never played. And it's even in the end credits as they scroll by. But apparently, like some recent like DVD or Blu-ray restored it. So all is well with the world.
The version I saw was the latest Blu-ray release, which had the song restored to it. And not only is that just a great disco song, but like it's perfect for the scene. It's, you know, it's about Dracula loving the night.
It so well. Yeah.
It's fun, man. Like that's the best part of the movie, other than Richard Benjamin.
No, but I actually liked George Hamilton's performance more than I expected, because I often, it's easy to forget that he's an actor and not just a very tanned personality, right? Because he does commercials. You don't really think of him as an actor. But I thought he was actually charming at times. The movie around him should have been better, but he was not bad.
Did you guys know that the makeup guy from the original Bela Lugosi Dracula did the makeup on George Hamilton in this flick? William Tuttle.
I didn't know that.
Why didn't he do body makeup when Dracula's in his like unders? Because you got that pale face and the tan body of. There's no matchy. There was no matchy. Yeah. It's just right. It's like when you see a lady that's got like terracotta foundation and then she's got my neck. And you're like, what is going on? That's not your natural skin color, ma'am. Blend it. So Michael Pataki is in this. Yeah.
Yes, the Drago's trainer from Rocky IV. I recognize them from that.
Oh God, and Grave of the Vampire, which is a much better vampire movie, and Count Yorga. The sequel to Count Yorga, Return of Count Yorga, has Michael Pataki. Two better vampire movies.
He's also in the movie Night Shift as a John in the courtroom who Shelley Long has bitten on the ass.
There were a lot of lot of actors that just kind of come and go in this movie without blinking an eye, but they're well known in their own right. I mean, the fact that there was a Jefferson's reunion with Sherman Hemsley and Isabel Sanford for no real reason. They just were kind of in the movie, not together, but they were in the movie together. It was weird.
Yeah.
Wanted the opportunity to swear and that TV was restricting them from, so they each accepted a role. As you guys have mentioned, his tiny legs, the VIP of this movie for me is 100,000% Richard Benjamin. I forget how fucking awesome Richard Benjamin is. And then I happen to see something he's in and I go, oh my God, Richard Benjamin is awesome. And then I forget again. And that's a shame because he needs to be a little more lauded, because every scene he's in this movie works for me. He's hilarious every single time.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. We talked about this a little bit. My comparison, it kind of hit me as I was watching this, because Richard Benjamin had kind of quite a run on cable back then. I remember him being in a lot beyond, obviously, he was in like Goodbye Columbus and a lot of older movies, but I remember him from Saturday the 14th, from Scavenger Hunt, which was another, these are not necessarily good movies. And First Family, which is certainly worse than Love at First Bite, but everything pales in comparison to the awfulness of First Family with Bob. Remember Bob Newhart was in that?
Yeah.
Gilda Radner. But yeah, Richard Benjamin kind of had a moment there, and he elevates anything that he's in, I think.
I think he plays into something you and I have discussed, HP, over on the Wolf and Raisin podcast, the sort of 70s phenomenon of the intellectual or nerdy sort of man becoming the sex symbol with like Elliot Gould and Telly Savalas. Yeah. And I think Richard Benjamin slots Alan Alda. In there. Yeah, Alan Alda, certainly. But I think Richard Benjamin is a little bit elevated above them because he fought Yul Brynner in Westworld.
That's
Richard Benjamin carried a fucking action movie, y'all.
toe to toe with Yul Brynner, and absolutely.
I believed him every moment of that movie.
There's a rumor going around that the Black Flag live album, who has the was it 10.5?
10.5, yeah.
That's about Richard Benjamin.
Really?
No.
Oh. It was a fib.
It was a fib. But imagine that. Well, no, that's the thing. This movie is littered with all kinds of great actors. I know we'd mentioned Michael Pataki's in it for like 2 minutes, which rise up, my sisters. There's a small cadre of us weird cult ladies that worship the ground of Michael Pataki because he has what the Flesh Tones called man power debut. Michael Pataki is the man. And he's in the Pink Angels too, which is also another better movie than this one. But
much better movie.
Yeah. Jack Baker, who's not even listed in the credits, who is maybe best known for being Styx Downey in Happy Days, but Jack Baker's also in Kentucky.
Yes, I know. I knew.
He eventually became a porn star, didn't he?
Oh my God, he's in New Wave Hookers, which is amazing and so much funnier than this movie.
Because I looked him up on IMDb, and like his 50 most recent credits are porn credits. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, he's featured in the very sensitive treatment of African American youth sequence of Love at First Bite. Wasn't that something? Honky?
Yeah. Oh, God.
That's when I knew I had to buckle in because it was going to be.
His grandfather was a
rough.
Watusi. Oh, okay. It's this kind of movie.
It's like this movie's humor at times tends to feel like you're stuck at a holiday, speaking because we are in the holiday season, at a family gathering, and you're stuck with that one like kind of racist uncle or cousin that keeps telling you awful jokes, and you're just trying to be nice. You're like, that's awful, and you're just like trying to avoid them, but they keep following you.
Okay, Uncle Jeff. Yeah, that's real funny. There's potato salad. I got to go check the potato salad. Why don't you stay here?
Yeah. Oh, look, there's pie. Yeah. And that's this movie is, oh, look, there's pie. And it's so sad. And Jack Baker was also in Kentucky Fried Movie, which is another funnier movie than this one.
We're just going to list all the funnier movies than this one.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
That's the mark of a good movie.
That's my contribution. No.
I don't want to steal your thunder, Father Malone. There's one particular guest spot that figures into our Wolf and Raisin podcast. Why don't you clue everybody in?
Ralph Manza, who on Banachek, the show we discuss on Wolf and Raisin, plays the character named Jay Drury, who is Thomas Banachek's limo driver. And when Renfield is being hustled by taxi drivers and stuff once he's arrived in New York, who walks up but Ralph Manza as a limo driver, trying to get him to and I'm sure HB had the same reaction I did, was just like whiplash, like what the wait, where is George Papard gonna walk on?
It was so surreal because not only is it Jay, but he's playing a limo driver, and it almost made me think like, is this like a weird like Easter egg that they kind of threw into the movie? Like it was very, very bizarre. But
it could have been, like I said, Susan St. James is it was Macmillan and Wife, which was one of the sister shows of Banachek. Yeah. So, and there were quite a few actors and stuff throughout the film that I noticed were, had been on the wheel at some point or another. But that was certainly odd to suddenly have Ralph Manza like come in for 1 second.
How have we not mentioned Dick Shawn?
Yes,
because we had to wade through a lot of fucking nonsense to get to the good performances. like this movie is not worthless. I think it's actually a pretty good movie. It's just really misguided and of its time. But like the last, I won't say third act, but like the last maybe 8/10 or 2/10 of the movie are actually pretty entertaining. Once it goes on the run, I liked the movie, and that's attributable to Dick Shawn and Richard Benjamin bouncing off each other, but Dick Shawn in a really understated performance from him.
Very understated. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's definitely not like the Dick Shawn you expect to see in this kind of movie, but I dug it, but I wanted to love this movie like I loved it as a kid. And it's not just that it's of its time for me, because there are plenty of movies I love that are probably very offensive.
Problematic, as the kids say.
Yeah, problematic. I mean, not, not racist or anything, but just stuff that's very like, like, for example, we mentioned Kentucky Fried Movie. There's probably jokes in that would probably, not cotton well to certain sensibilities. But I think the movie's still funny. I think it still holds up. And
it all depends on the intent, right?
I was going to say, yeah.
But also jokes, intent, and how good the jokes are too. Like Big Jim Slade crashing through the wall like the
to Hava Nagila.
Like yeah, and to take Jack Baker's lady, that shit's still funny. It's still funny. It's still funny, and at least Jack Baker got a credit for that. My problem with Love at First Bite is just most of the jokes. For every joke that landed, I feel like there were 3 or 4 that didn't. The racism was a lot. It was a lot. And I mean, I'm not somebody that's like, oh no, I'm so offended, my delicate sensibilities. I mean, I literally just wrote, which everybody can read on the Arrow Films blog. I just wrote a piece about Nico Mastorakis, this amazing Greek filmmaker, but he made Island of Death, which was literally banned in several countries. And that movie has a cadre of offensive things in it, but it's amazing. Like, it's so good. And
the jokes in this movie are just fucking lazy is the problem. It's like, it's all cliche bullshit. It's like jokes that they've heard and they've repeated that have been repeated to them, and on and on and on. It's not being irreverent when it's punching down. Whereas something like Kentucky Fried Movie, it feels like everything deserves to get punched down, like it all does come down to intent. And in this movie, the racism is really bad. It's really bad. The sexism is also really bad. The fact that our lead character wants to have a job, but not really. She really just wants to pack it in, have a boyfriend. And in fact, working actually makes her feel like a whore. Like, this is 1979. Like, the women's liberation movement is already done, man. Like, what is this? What male like nonsense screenwriter is putting these words into Susan St. James' mouth, and why is she saying them? I think they thought they were making a satire, but really it just comes off as like offensive.
Well, that's the thing, and we spoke a little bit about this, Father Malone. But the kindest thing I could really say about the movie is that at a certain point, I was reminded of a late 70s Mad Magazine parody, like something you'd read in Mad Magazine around that time. And the problem is, well, there's many problems, but I think the racism is really just like lazy stereotyping. And at a minimum, at least, they don't target just one group. There's a myriad of groups that are the target of this sort of lazy stereotyping. But beyond that, getting past all the sort of offensive humor, part of my problem is that there are no likable characters in the movie really at all when you think about it. Like, to your point, Susan St. James is kind of, lazy. She's involved with her shrink, but she's not paying him. And like you said, she really doesn't want to work because she's just, she's not very likable. The shrink isn't very likable because he comes off as skeevy at times and not really sure sometimes of his motivation. He says he loves her, but then he's basically kidnapping her. It's all over the place.
That part I like. I like that part.
There's nobody. But there's nobody. Not that a movie needs someone to root for or something to root for. But
I totally identified with Dr. Rosenberg.
You're like, I would totally have sex with my patient. There's nothing wrong with that.
I wish it had been a movie 100% about him. Honestly, like Dr. Rosenberg with just a regular practice finds out that he's a descendant of Van Helsing, and who's shown up now? It's fucking Dracula, and he's got to go take care of it. That would have been really funny.
Sure.
I gotta. Yeah, the thing is, like, it was weird for me because I'm used to seeing skeevy psychiatrists played by guys like Klaus Kinski and not Richard Benjamin. Like
they're worlds apart, really. I mean,
yeah. But just a little, no, the sexism. I mean, she literally says, oh, a career for a woman, it's like fooling around for a man. It's fun for a little while, but then you find the right person. And I'm like, is this 1880? Like, what the fuck? What the actual fuck? This movie came out in 79. Like, that is some bullshit. Like,
it subverts what the movie pretends it's about, which is this sort of culture clash thing, because it's really just adhering to all the fucking nonsense they, from the previous 70 years of filmed entertainment.
Yes, yeah. I mean, and keep in mind, I also said that New Wave Hookers is amazing, and that's a film where women are hypnotized into sex work through the powers of new wave music. But that movie's amazing.
Yes, that's stuff that happens. Like this movie, no.
That happens. Like, have you heard of Tito Larreva? Of course, you're going to be banging to that music. It's so
Absolutely.
good, right? I love
New
the
wave,
but but
HP, your opinion on the Plugs?
On what? Sorry.
The Plugs, the band.
I have no opinion, unfortunately. Not familiar. I haven't seen the movie New Wave Hookers, but I think I'll have to add it to my Netflix queue. How about that?
I don't think
Get on that.
I'll get on that.
Jeez.
I don't think it's on Netflix.
I know. The other thing I wanted to kind of bring up, the other vibe that I kind of picked up from this movie, and I was curious if either of you had the same impression, and maybe it was just a case of me trying to latch on to anything, something that would like give me some context and maybe allow me to get through it and enjoy it. I got kind of a weird Mel Brooks Young Frankenstein sort of vibe from it. Like, obviously you can't make a direct comparison to them because Young Frankenstein is a great movie and it's well acted, well written and everything. But I think I couldn't help thinking maybe they were looking for a little bit of that sort of Mel Brooks cachet, like a satire, but I don't think it was, nearly as well made, obviously, as Young Frankenstein. What do you guys think?
I think it was like Young Frankenstein written by Seltzer and Friedberg, those hacks who did all of the later scary movies and then the epic movie and the dating movie. Like those guys, if they had written Young Frankenstein, that would be love at first bite.
I can't beat that. I mean,
okay.
Damn. No, agreed. Fully agreed.
I mean, it obviously, Young Frankenstein was a big success. And by the late 1970s, horror was everything a little bit, right? It was bubbling up and people were starting to re-examine horror. And so this seemed like a natural, like the same year that this came out, as a matter of fact, there was a short film called Dracula, like Takes a Bite of the Big Apple. Who's the filmmaker? I forget his name. It's fun. It's like a 30-minute thing, and it does everything that this movie says it's doing about Dracula coming to New York, when it really wasn't that at all. It was just another stupid romantic comedy with bats. And the guy who made that short film eventually made Vamp with Grace Jones, Chris Makepeace.
Yeah.
Oh my God, what a good movie! And seeing how close this was to that short film, rewatching it just made me appreciate Vamp. And I should have had a revolution here and invited you both to watch Vamp, and we could be talking about that right now and enjoying ourselves instead of picking apart this what is supposed to be just a trifle, but turns out is really a problem of a movie. Which is to say, not to say that it does not have its charms. It does have its charms. There's some good stuff in this movie. Well, I laughed a few times while watching.
Well, let's talk about it. What are the positives?
Nothing.
But you said you just laughed a few times. Okay.
No, I'm not. Okay, here was a positive. This is just a weird little transitional moment. Okay. The oh so sensitive African-American youth scene ends with him decimating all these thugs, quote unquote, as they're attempting to kill him. The switchblade,
that was a cool
kid
effect.
Pulls a switchblade out on him, and Dracula uses a bit of his magic, and the switchblade, the blade itself twists, and then like like salami just sort of like flops over. That was great. That was a great effect.
Yeah, it was.
I like that. And in that same scene, the last kid standing, who becomes a character throughout the rest of the movie, grabs a television out of a broken storefront window. And as he runs out, there's like a ricochet sound, like pow, like he just like a cartoon shot out of it. And then we cut to Renfield, who's watching a Western, and we keep hearing the ricochets. I thought that was an awesome transition. That was another good thing about the movie. And above all, they chose my favorite Dracula color scheme, which is no red, no medallion, black cape, and white shirt, white bow tie. That's my favorite Dracula look, and that's another positive in the movie. I'm sure there's more, but those are the things that came to mind just now when you asked. Did you find nothing redeeming, either of you?
No.
I'll start with you, Heather.
Go ahead.
You stop, HP.
I mean, the cast. I mean, these are so many actors. Even just like some of the small ones we were talking about. I mean, it's kind of like if you love character actors, this is a really like it's a fun film to watch on that level. Even though like some of the bits that were racist, there were, like you said, like you're talking about Father Malone, like there was the gag. Like, and it made me hate the racist shit even more though, because like there'd be little nuggets where I'm like, if they had handled this a little better and not racist, it would have been kind of funny. Like Sherman Hemsley jumping, like him playing the preacher and Dracula rises out of the coffin at the funeral. That idea of Dracula surprising mourners like that is kind of like, that's got potential. And Sherman Hemsley's great. Also, reportedly a huge fan of progressive rock band Gentle Giant, which I find utterly fascinating. Like, but that's a whole other
Ain't
thing.
that interesting?
Right. Like,
moving on up.
Where's that documentary on Sherman Hemsley? I would watch it. You know, that's like there's a family that refers to Dracula in bat form as a black chicken. And I mean, it's so stupid, but sometimes like stuff that's so brain bendingly stupid that it's almost like surrealism does give me a chuckle.
I remember laughing a lot as a kid to that joke.
Yeah.
And I cackled in the theater at the thought of Dracula being described as a black chicken, regardless of whatever their setup was.
The setup was poor. The setup was bad, but
the joke is good.
Him being all sad and being like, you know, over here, what I'm a black chicken, like that. I just made him sound like Orderowski.
I want to try Chivas Regal with a twist.
Yes.
His line readings are really good. Okay, there's something, you know, yes, we love all the character actors in it, but George Hamilton does carry the movie, I thought. Like, yeah, he's doing kind of an impression of Bela Lugosi, but he's also doing his own thing. And you said earlier, HP, like we forget that he was an actor, you know? And I actually just recently watched the Evel Knievel movie that he starred in. Because John Milius wrote that movie. Oh. And yeah. I'm doing a Milius thing later next year. Awesome. He's great in it. Like the movie's a shambles because, you know, it's a TV movie, but Evel Knievel made while Evel Knievel is still out there jumping shit. But he's great in that. And I think he does a really creditable performance here.
Yeah, no, he's good. He's good. I mean, none of my complaints are with any of the actors. Like, that's for sure. Though I did wonder, like, would I like this a tiny bit more if Ron Liebman was somewhere in it?
You would like anything if a little bit more if Ron Liebman was in it.
You know me too well.
We all know your affection for the Liebman.
I love him.
Well, he enlivens everything. He could have been Rosenberg, and then it would have been like really serious all of a sudden in this movie.
God, it would have been really sexy all of a sudden. Yeah. But I would be remiss, HP. What are the things you did like about this movie? Because that's a great question.
Sure, I echo a lot of what you're saying. Like I had said before, I think George Hamilton is probably like the best single thing running through the whole movie. He has a vulnerability at times, even that I thought was kind of charming. I love, like you said, the sort of oddball actors that kind of come and go very quickly, and you kind of, I don't know, that kind of like enlivened it a little bit for me. In a weird way, like this movie's very episodic. Like it kind of like shambles along, and there's like a long scene in an elevator, and that kind of has its own little beginning, middle, and end, and that can get a little annoying. But I found that kind of charming in the same way that I kind of found another very bad movie called Where the Buffalo Roam kind of charming and fun, even though I recognize it's a bad movie. I kind of like movies that sometimes go down a little rabbit hole and then come out, and it you know, may not make a lot of sense, but it's interesting. Richard Benjamin, I think, is fantastic. I think, as we've already sung his praises over and over and over again. It was odd seeing Dick Shawn, but he's so understated, but I think he's really good as a result. He's a good foil for Richard Benjamin. And to your point, Father Malone, I think the last, it's not the third, maybe the last quarter of the movie where they're on the run in the taxi. And I felt like it picked up some steam at that point, and it became like more of a real traditional, like kind of viewing experience. There wasn't any real horrifying racism or sexism to sort of drag it down. And I kind of liked some of the effects were kind of silly. I like the fact that they just opted for the little rubber bats whenever they showed them kind of flying around. I kind of got a chuckle out of that because it was kind of like they just kind of like shrugged and said, if we're going to do this and be silly, let's go all the way with it. But really, I think George Hamilton is really the sort of the focal point that I thought was the best thing about the movie, if I had to say. I mean, there's, we're coming down on it a lot, but there were things to be appreciated, and there was a couple chuckles,
We have mentioned Artie Johnson, but I just want to say, like, he's doing a pitch perfect Renfield from the original Dracula. Like, it's staggering. It's too much. It's too much of this guy in that laugh.
The laugh got old, yeah.
But goddamn, ain't he committed to that part? Like he's doing real good. I beat up on him just recently over on Midnight Viewing, the Night Gallery podcast, because he showed up on that, and I mentioned that, growing up, looking back at Laugh-In, I always really burned about that show. Like I always thought it was a bunch of straight normal people like trying to tap into the youth market, and I thought Artie Johnson was like a big part of that. And so I had a chip on my shoulder about Artie Johnson for a long time, but I think he's real good here.
He's like the most adorable Renfield, other than Tom Waits. I think Tom Waits as like the Seussian Renfield, and Coppola's Dracula is adorable.
I want to go watch that right now. Any mention of his performance as Renfield, just he is the best part of that movie, right?
He is one of the best Renfields for my money. I love Tom Waits and that. No, something you mentioned earlier, Father Malone, that and it's like you echoed something I was thinking though about with the time period of this movie, is the late 70s and early 80s seem to be a really kind of hotbed for both sort of like comedy or sort of lighter vampire fare, both like musically and movies, because like you also had Nocturna, which is another like disco vampire type film with Nye Bonet, and I believe John Carradine's in that. Old Dracula with David Niven. Music wise, you had you literally had a song, I think it's either from Quebec or France, called Disco Dracula. Literally called that. And my favorite,
I remember that one, yeah.
My favorite though is Soul Dracula by the outfit Hot Blood, and there's an amazing clip on YouTube of some people dancing to it, and that is the gorpiest Dracula you will ever see. Like, God, he makes Hamilton in this movie look like Klaus Kinski and Nosferatu. Like it's like John Denver as Dracula is less goony than the guy in the Soul Dracula.
And let's not forget, the same year that this movie came out, there was the John Badham Dracula with Frank Langella.
Yeah.
There were something like 7 different vampire movies that all came out in 1979. This was just in and amongst them,
Right. And oh God, no, I'm sorry. It's like you triggered my brain. No, West Germany, I think this is 81, had Dracula Blows Is Cool. Which was like a sex comedy. You had Dracula Sucks with Jamie Gillis, who's in They With Hookers. Obviously, that's an adult film.
The original title of this movie, by the way, Dracula Sucks.
Yeah. But that's right. Though, does this movie have Dracula urinating on a woman in a solarized effect? I think not. So that's a little trivia. Don't rush out and go see it at once, everybody. That movie.
Every Dracula movie ought to have that. That's the pivotal scene. Like, I can't believe they dropped it from this one.
That's my favorite.
And
part of the book. Yeah.
When you look at this movie, it really is patterned after the novel Dracula. It's like with him coming and finding the girl and whatever, and ending with the chase of of course he gets away here. But like, what I found interesting is uncredited in this movie, Bram Stoker. And it got me thinking, how many movies featuring Dracula have not mentioned the fact that it was created by one guy?
I didn't even think about that. That's an excellent point. That's poor Bram Stoker.
He wasn't in any of the credits at all?
No, he's not listed in the credits at all. He's uncredited. Poor Bram Stoker. But I also, that this is completely off the subject, but it made me think about, and I should just do the research and not wonder aloud here, but I wonder how many adapted screenplay Oscar winners forget to thank the source author. These are things I think about sometimes, guys.
No, I think that's an excellent point. I mean, especially when you think about the history of Dracula, because I mean, when F.W. Murnau's Nosferatu originally came out, Florence Stoker, Bram's widow, was still alive, and she sued him and won.
And rightfully so.
Yeah, and I mean, the only reason
they ripped him off.
Yeah, the only reason we even have that film is because of bootlegging. Legit, like if people had not bootlegged Murnau's Nosferatu, that would be a lost film. So
thank God for them bootleggers.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes life is full of a lot of gray areas.
Well, we've got a whole Kennedy dynasty all based on bootlegging as well.
Yeah.
So
but
what works for them can work for Murnau as well.
Oh, but yeah, so it's like, but think about it. I mean, like it goes, we went from her winning this lawsuit to now, like you had this era where everybody can just have Dracula and something, and it's not a legal issue at all.
Not at all. He's out there in the ether. But it would be nice every once in a while for somebody to give him the respect he deserves, I would think.
Absolutely. Well, what we're doing it here on this show. So thank you, Bram Stoker.
Yes.
I
love you demented Irishman.
I legit have a Funko of him.
I believe it. I have no reason to doubt you.
I would not lie about such a thing.
Is it dead in the coffin? That was a line of dialogue in this movie.
That was bad.
Dracula said that.
Casually, just like nothing. Just spit
wow.
out there. Put it out there.
Now, the word it does mean black in German, I assume, but like, what the fuck, man?
Well, no, it's a pejorative. I mean, there's no getting around it, no matter what the derivation is. It's a slur. They should have known that, but
it was like a bad guy saying that. I mean, because think about it, like Dracula in the movie Blackula is the bad guy, and he is racist. So him saying racist shit, it's like, well, yeah, he's the bad guy, like because we're totally for William Marshall. We're for that prince, that beautiful African prince. He is our hero. But in Love at First Bite, this is Dracula's our hero, and he's saying racist stuff. Like it's
just casually too,
Just throw it out.
And why would he know the term? Earlier in the film, he's reading in his coffin, trying to figure out slang terms from a manual from the 1920s. Like, how did he become so racist while living in Transylvania for 700 years?
That's a good question. That's a good. It's like, he's got a 1920s vernacular book and a couple of like David Allan Coe like underground records.
You're asking questions that the film cannot answer.
I don't think anyone would have even contemplated these things while they were writing this bullshit screenplay. No. They were thinking joke machine, like if Mel Brooks can do it, so can we.
I just felt so bad for some of the, like, for actually all of the actors. I'm about to say for the African American actors in this, but then I'm like, well, no, I feel bad for Susan St. James. Like, she's great, and she's great. Her character, and I think HP, you were talking about how she's, there really aren't any likable characters, and you're right. But I think she makes her character likable because it's her. Like, but if I looked at her character on paper, her character's a hot mess. But Susan St. James is likable. Like, her just.
The casting of the movie really saves it or elevates it just even slightly, because these people are so genuinely likable anyway that suddenly we're invested, even though the screenplay is doing everything it can to undermine it. Another member of the cast that this is a little bit I do over on Midnight Viewing, the Night Gallery podcast. I always like to point out unsung performers, and I'm going to do so again here. This one has already appeared on Night Gallery multiple times, makes a big appearance during the opening sequence of the movie in Transylvania. That's this one. That's a single classic wolf. It originated in a Disney short called Bongo in 1946. So that's from the Disney archives. So as you all recognize that, we heard it all through our youth. It was just ladled into anything that was supposed to be supernatural or whatever. It's sometimes called single coyote. That's not a coyote. But it is used for a hilarious joke of Children of the Night Shut Up, which is not very funny at all. But now that I'm very familiar with this particular audio cue, hearing it layered on top of itself ad nauseum, like there were at least 25 layers of Single Classic Wolf running it made me want to throw my television out the window. And I love Single Classic Wolf, and I'm giving it its due here. But oh my God, what was the sound? Like this was an MGM feature, right? They only have the one Wolf recording available to them that they stole from Disney. Anyway, sorry, I don't mean to rant.
So does that make Susan St. James a Disney princess?
No. Because this is an MGM movie at the end of the day. It's only tangentially related through theft.
I just feel like Disney owns everything at this point. So,
well, now that makes us all Disney princes and princesses, I suppose, because soon it will be the United States of Disney. Let's face it. And you know what? Let them have it. Everything else hasn't worked.
One other little moment that I kind of liked, I didn't think it was particularly funny, but I appreciated it, was when Renfield goes to Susan St. James's, I think it's her agent, to try to find her. And the agent goes, "Oh, wait a minute. Did Bob Evans at Paramount put you up to this?" I was like, that's Robert Evans. And he was at Paramount. That's actually pretty cool. They could have made up a name and some made up studio, but it was Bob Evans at Paramount.
Yeah, there was a lot of sort of current humor going on, you know, the sort of Romania becoming communist, like they're kicking Dracula out of his castle and it's becoming a communist compound, like that sort of the time. They mentioned Roots a lot. I guess Roots had just been on television because it is mentioned something like 8 or 10 times, it felt like, mainly to paper over a racist joke about to occur.
Yeah, that was an issue. Poor Isabel Sanford. Like, I just that hilarious. Hey guys, remember that hilarious miniseries that's great to mention in jokes about slavery?
Yeah, and it was like at the time, like people, you make a joke about it now, but it was pretty groundbreaking for white America to see what the struggle was, you know?
Gosh,
like let's make a black chicken joke.
In the landscape of horror comedies, where would you guys rank this? Like, I will say this: I don't think this is the worst horror comedy I've ever seen. Because I can certainly think of a few that I would say are actively worse, but it's definitely middling at best for me. And that's being nice. Like, that's being generous.
I'm glad you brought that up, Heather, because I did want to ask you both about horror comedies. Before we get into like what your favorites are, where this ranks in the pantheon. Is your definition of horror comedy a comedy just dressed up in like a cerement, or is it like an actually scary movie that also is irreverent and makes you laugh? Because like Evil Dead is kind of the gold standard of horror comedy. And there are moments in that movie that scared me the first time I saw it. When Ash comes through the mirror at himself, like it kind of still freaks me out a little. Like when everything on the wall has gone crazy, like there's some genuine frights in that film. And it's also goddamned hilarious. So to me, that's an actual horror comedy. This is just, you know, like a Mad Magazine parody, you know. It's just like, this will be cute. We'll play Dracula. There is no intent whatsoever for this movie to scare you at all.
No, but I think, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm like, as a kid, one of my other favorite things was cracked Monster Party editions. Like that was my nectar of the gods. In fact, one of my most treasured memories was my mom buying me the cracked Monster Party, and then like those little Debbie pecan pies, and we went on a road trip, and like the road trip and the little Debbie pies and the cracked Monster Party, like, because I grew up very like with a single mother, and we did not have a lot of money, so it was the little things that definitely made things kind of like really amazing. But that memory just is still like so precious to me. And like, so I love, like, to me, horror comedies can kind of, I think, are both. I think they can include both. But that's why I think there's a lot of them that aren't that good, because you tend to have some that are very lopsided, where it is almost like what you said, like Father Malone, like it's basically just like a comedy that's got like a cape in it and a bat. But I mean, but like you could say Groovy, I mean, and Groovy Ghoulies is also not really that good either, but it's like, I don't think it's racist at least, but it's kind of like that too. Or you have something that's a lot better, like the hilarious House of Frightenstein, which is something I've really gotten into this year, from the early 70s with the great Billy Van, who's an amazing Canadian actor. And he's one of my favorite comedic Draculas. I mean, he's not the Dracula, but he's a vampire in it, and he's hilarious. He's genuinely funny. And but yeah, I don't know. I mean, to me, they could be both. I mean, I kind of prefer the ones personally that tend to be a balance. Like I mentioned Return of the Living Dead earlier. That's another one, because I think there's stuff in that film that is genuinely dark, like really dark and nihilistic, and it's got that. I love that. But then there's like the stuff that's funny in it is perfect. Like just everything lands like it should. But then I also love Transylvania 65000, which I know.
No, you're gonna get no argument here. Stachew's away, and the Transylvanians will play. HP, what's your opinion on Transylvania 65000?
With Goldblum and Ed Begley.
Yes.
I have very few memories of that movie. I remember it being. I honestly, even at the time, I thought it looked kind of lame. Like I don't really have an opinion on it, to be brutally honest.
That's the right
I'd have
answer.
to rewatch it.
HP, I'm going to turn off your microphone.
Perfect. No, if I'm looking at, like, those are all good choices, and I'm glad that you had mentioned Army of Darkness, because I wouldn't necessarily or not Army of Darkness, Evil Dead 2. But I would be curious if you would consider something like a Reanimator to be a horror comedy.
100%, yes.
Yeah.
You know, because it leaned, well, I guess there's a balance, right? I mean, Young Frankenstein, like I talked about earlier, you could make the case that that's a horror comedy, but it's obviously leaning so heavily in the side of comedy that the horror isn't really horrific. But then you've got, like I said, Reanimator. You talked about Return of the Living Dead. An American Werewolf in London is probably another classic example. So these are all ones. I mean, I don't know if this is answering the question, but those would be ones that I would say are in the pantheon of horror comedies.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I do think all the different versions of horror comedy can exist, but for me personally, I always like when they attempt to scare me as well. But I do like a ridiculous things, as like the early Peter Jackson movies are just gratuitous to the point of nausea, and those are hilarious and not necessarily scary at all, just kind of irreverent.
Have you guys seen Blood for Dracula, the Paul Morrissey film? I'm sure, Father Malone, you have. HP, have you seen it?
I have not. I have a big gap in my knowledge of like the Warhol sort of Paul Morrissey type era of movies, but enlighten me, please.
I would actually argue that both that and Frankenstein are horror comedies, because I mean the humor is very it's definitely not like Love at First Bite. Oh my goodness.
Let's call it dry.
Sorry.
But I'm sorry, I'm distracted because HP has a cute little critter. But anywho, I'm sorry. I get easily distracted by cute animals and Ron Liebman. So
big fan of Up the Academy, are you? Absolutely,
which Father Malone and I, along with Mr. Chris Stachiw, got to talk about for the Kulturecast for the Patreon. And that's another thing. Like Father Malone and I are we're like hive minds.
Yeah, it's weird.
I feel like in a lot of ways. Yeah, we're
like the one question I wrote down was like about horror comedies and like where we ran, and like you already brought it up, so I'm like, okay, well, let me piggyback off of that. Hey,
we were hatched out of the same egg. Or
indeed,
something.
Yeah, it's a weird egg. nobody needs to know about it. It's it's a struggle being us. The director of this movie, Stan Dragoti. This is his worst movie. But he also made The Man with One Red Shoe, which I love. That was a good movie. Mr. Mom, which, now it's predicated on like, wow, man at home with kids. It's a bit ridiculous, but it's still a really well-made movie.
Michael Keaton is really good in it. I mean, he makes that movie. Terry Garr is great in it. And Martin Mull, that's another Martin Mull movie.
Sensitive Martin Mull.
Well, he's kind of the pig-headed boss in that one, though. He's her boss?
Yeah, and, he's a really good villain, Martin Mull.
Yeah, no, he is.
He's being all smarmy. Remember him in FM?
FM.
My goodness.
Tell me that Chris hasn't done an episode on FM yet, because I would
Probably
be there
not.
with Bell. I would. Oh my God.
You're that Stachiw. We're calling you on to the FM mat.
That's another movie that, like, yeah, you could make the case that it's not a very good movie, but I saw it and experienced it at a particular point in my life. I'm sure we've all had this experience where it's a movie by all rights is terrible or not good, but it fills a space in your heart, and you love it for whatever reason. I love it because I love that music. I love well, anyway, we're getting sidetracked. We'll save it for the FM podcast.
Yes, indeed. Let's reel it on back to, okay, so what is your favorite 100% favorite horror comedy? Heather.
Oh God, that's so hard. Oh, because I have so many.
You only get one.
Oh no.
All others must be burned and never seen again by the public.
Oh my God, that's not fair.
Okay, we'll give it to HP first. HP, go.
Yes, give it to. Yeah.
I'll say Evil Dead 2. We already talked about it, but that's probably the perfect mix of horror and comedy. Yes.
Right.
Evil Dead 2.
You ready, Heather?
No, you go.
American Werewolf in London.
I knew that was going to be your answer.
Yeah, it is the perfect mix of comedy and horror. And I love those characters. There's a very sweet romance going on that doesn't feel tacked on or shoved in just because somebody wanted to put it in there. Like, it all seems, that script to me is a marvel. And then the film that he made is a marvel. And that fucking wolf is the scariest goddamn version of a werewolf I've ever seen in my life. If I were to hear the sound that they made for that particular wolf, not single classic wolf, but an actual frightening new sound. If I were to hear that anywhere out and about, I would run. That movie still scares me every time I watch it, and I love it as a comedy. Like, it makes me laugh every single time, and not just like jokes, like situations and the filmmaking itself. Like, I don't know, it's a work of art, that movie. All right, Heather, go.
Blood Diner.
Oh, Blood Diner. That's fun.
Tupman Cafe gets my love, and I feel like it's I wouldn't say that's a the scary with the horror. I mean, it's a very ridiculous movie, but it knows what it is, and it has so much fun with it, and it's just I love it. That's one of my like comfort food movies too. If I'm having a really bad day, I can throw on Blood Diner and just get in a better mood.
Can I ask something, Father Malone?
You can do whatever you want, HP. We're all free here. We're free from the Stachiw and his rules, man. We reject those rules. You go, baby. Take over the Kulturecast. Everybody, the Kulturecast with HP.
Point of order. What about Creep Show?
Yes, horror comedy.
But why is that not your favorite?
Because the comedy is light and an afterthought. That is more a attempt at bringing out what was special about the EC comics of the 50s. And the EC comics, the humor is more ironic than it is laugh out loud funny. So it doesn't achieve the same level that American Werewolf in London does, which actually makes me laugh and actually scares me. And that to me is the gold standard, as I've said before, of like what a horror comedy is. Reanimator's really high up there, by the way. I mean, it's like pushing up against American Werewolf in London. But, as far as gore and everything, and that movie scares me too. Like, there's a lot of weird stuff in that movie that I saw way too young, Yeah.
And you let me borrow it.
I know.
Oh, what a good friend. That's awesome.
Oh, I passed all of my weirdness over to Harris.
Man. So, one of, I'm trying to think who it was earlier alluded to the fact that Richard Benjamin is no stranger to the horror comedy because he's in Saturday the 14th.
Yeah.
And he's also, and I'm trying to remember the name of it, he was in a TV movie with Terry Garr where she plays a witch.
Yeah, I don't know what that is, but I want to see it. I love
Right?
Saturday the 14th. It is really terrible, and it's almost not worth a rewatch. But it does it does feature a performance by Severn Darden, who is a personal hero of mine. He's one of the original Compass players in Chicago, like one of the people who invented improvisation as we know it today. And he appears very seldomly. I think most people our age or young or older probably would know him from in the film Real Genius. He's the sort of befuddled old professor, like always check the references. That dude.
Yeah. Wait, was Severn Darden in Werewolves on Wheels?
Oh yes, he was. Severn Darden, who grew up in New Orleans and who wore a cape because he was a stylish man, would race along rooftops and race through people's houses and then keep racing. And if people were to wake while he was running through their bedroom, like to get to another rooftop, he would say, "It's all a dream."
What a badass.
Yeah, he's an amazing human who needs more attention. So let me just throw his name out there again. Severn Darden, folks.
Yeah. I have a soft spot for Saturday the 14th as well. So I get it. It is one of those, like kind of what you were saying, HP. There's certain films that we know aren't classically good, but they're fun. They're fun, and it's certainly a lot better than the sequel, which I would actually say is way worse than Love at First Bite. Like
that's like watching that putrid rock and roll high school forever.
with the Corey.
Good God, like that. What?
Yeah,
that's your sequel to the flick with the Ramones by the amazing Alan Arkish. No,
I've never seen it, but I think there's enough. I have at least enough self-love to be like, I can't go there.
You got to reject the Corey.
Not well, especially in that. I don't have a problem with him as a whole. Like he's great in Lost Boys.
He's good. He was good for a very brief period where he was still young enough that we could not think of him as a total prick, which I think he is from then on. I love that band, though. Do you ever see that footage of him breaking his tooth on the microphone?
You
should YouTube that. That's hilarious.
He's so mean. So salty. But we all know that Corey Haim is the superior one because he was in Silver Bullet.
He was, and he's great in that. Like
he's so good. I don't like most kids in movies, but he's perfect. He's perfect.
There's a scene in that movie which I did not mention on the Silver Bullet podcast done here on the Kulturecast with El Goro. There's a moment where his character is climbing out of his room to sneak out in the night to go shoot off fireworks, and he doesn't have the use of his legs, and it's really Corey Haim. He climbs out a window and climbs down a trellis with his legs dangling. Like, what commitment, even at that age. The wrong Corey. Wrong Corey.
Yeah. Oh, rest in peace, Corey Haim. We love you.
Yeah.
And we love Silver Bullet, which is not really a comedy, but it is a really good horror movie.
And it is. There are some good laughs in that movie, thanks to Mr. Gary Busey.
Oh God, I love Gary Busey. Well, then Gary Busey, not Bad Touch.
Right. No, anything after 89, Gary Busey is not great. It's a little suspect, but here it's real fun. He's really fun. Jesus, Palomina.
Oh my God, 80s Busey. What is the line where he says something about like, I ain't playing the goddamn Hardy Boys meet werewolf?
Yeah, the Hardy Boys meet Reverend Werewolf.
And the way he does it, it's like that's the drunk Southern uncle I always wanted but never got.
That's exactly what I said in the episode. Like, this is the.
Are you serious?
I said this is the uncle that like everyone like deserves, and I really wish I had. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's beautiful. That's
weird hive mind. I don't know. Okay, back to Love at First Bite, y'all. Got to wrap this fucker up. We've been talking about this movie way too long. I want to say something else good about the movie, but the fact is there is nothing left good to say about the movie.
I have one good thing to say about it.
Go.
It's also not Frankenstein General Hospital, which I do think is also worse.
Is that the worst horror comedy? Let's talk that. I guess we can go out on that. What's the worst horror comedy? I think recently there was a not Vampire Academy, which I thought was actually pretty good. There was another that That kid from the fucking 90210 reboot who ends up like he's the voice of Anakin Skywalker all the time. He did a vampire movie, which I could not watch. I turned off after 5 minutes. I'm sorry, I'm like naming movies that I don't even know the title for, but there was wasn't there an Alicia Silverstone movie recently that she was a vampire too, and it was just like Sex in the City with vampires. It was really bad.
Oh, Christ.
Really
Why?
bad.
Why?
What about you, HP? What's your worst?
My worst horror comedy. It's not my favorite. You know what? One of the worst horror comedies was. This is for some reason it comes to mind. Have you guys ever seen a movie called Otis with what's his name? The guy Kevin Pollak and Ileana Douglas, and I think Daniel Stern is in it.
No.
It's you're not missing anything. That's probably the worst. Basically, Kevin Pollak's brother is a serial killer who ends up, if I remember correctly, he basically takes the daughter of this family prisoner, and the family basically hunts down the brother and tortures him, thinking that he's the serial killer. It's not good.
Hilarity ensues.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Hey Zeus, that's like saying, you know what the worst horror comedy is? Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. I didn't laugh at all.
Well, this was the objective in this case. That Henry wasn't supposed to be fun, although because we talked about this. Father Malone and I did. We were fortunate enough to be chosen to do a Henry review.
Oh, we were so lucky to have to rewatch that movie.
And it was like no mercy. Anyway, there are funny moments in Henry. If you dig.
Yeah. Oh my God. I was busting a gut.
No.
I'm thinking like at one point he comes home with a guitar that he's clearly taken off of a hitchhiker that he's killed, and Otis says, "Hey, where'd you get that?" "Oh, it's just something I picked up." I mean, that's kind of funny when you think about it. It's black humor. It's as black can be, but it's there. But
hey, you know what's a really good horror comedy? Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2.
Yes,
I agree.
Right?
Oh, yeah, my God, yes.
Scary, gory, pointed, and fucking hilarious.
Oh my
Agreed.
God. Between Dennis Hopper saying, "I'm the Lord of the Harvest."
Oh my God, what a wonderful, hilarious thing.
And everything with Bill Moseley. The whole thing of getting all mad at Leatherface. "Leatherface, you bitch! You ruined my Sonny Bono win."
Yeah. It's so freaky and funny simultaneously. Those teeth.
But the brilliance of that, though, and Father Malone and I think we've talked about this movie over the years.
Do you think
they're making the movie, and clearly they knew that there was no topping the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
And they couldn't make the same movie twice, so they just went in that completely gonzo, just off the rails, hilarious, but really, I mean, there's a lot of horror in that movie. A lot of, to your point about movies earlier, a lot of bad stuff happens in Part 2, but it's really funny. I mean, I knew when they're eating the chili and the guy he finds a tooth. He's like, "Oh, that's just one of them hard shell peppercorns. No problem." It's like, no, it's not. That's people in there. That's a tooth you just almost ate.
Hey, you know what though? Obviously, people taste great because how many years in a row did they win? 5th year running.
I mean, you could. I guess if you're going to make that the antecedent to that, I always thought was Motel Hell.
I love Motel
hilarious movie. And I'm being serious.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's
Gremlins is a really good horror comedy.
My first Halloween costume ever as a little girl was Stripe.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. I found actually recently my mom got inherited some old photo albums, and there was a picture of little me, like age 4 or 5, as Stripe.
That's amazing.
That's even then it was obvious. I was a bad seed.
We are recording this during the holiday season, and all of the internet is always awash. And is Die Hard a Christmas movie? Who gives a shit? You know what the best Christmas movie is? It's fucking Gremlins. The big,
Hell yes.
big, studio movie, like, for Christmas movies, like, you kind of can't beat it. And it is a straight up horror comedy. There's some horrific nonsense in that movie. It's amazing. And hilarious as well.
What about Christmas Evil?
I love Christmas Evil.
I know.
And Silent Night, Deadly Night. Just watched Black Christmas again last night. Is that a horror comedy? I don't think so. It's really serious. It's really serious. It's really scary.
Your review of Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, is going to stay with me for life. It was like, I didn't, not one chuckle.
Well, part of that is, so I saw it. I don't know if it was a midnight showing. It was a late night showing. I saw it out in the theater. I saw it with a friend of mine. It wasn't, for some reason, it wasn't Father Malone, but we went to see it at this movie house in Boston. And, we're like, 17, we're kids. And in the back, and we're completely horrified by this movie. It still remains one of the scariest movies I've ever seen. Yeah. And in the back, there's a whole row of guys that were straight up laughing through the whole movie, which somehow made it even worse, because now we're thinking to ourselves, like, we're in a movie theater with a bunch of psychos. Like, they think this is really funny. So, I part of me saying that is a little bit of a callback to how scared we were of these weirdos in this theater. But
you were looking for any levity at all in that movie, which is why you think there are chuckles in it.
Yeah, no, I mean,
something, please hold on to. Oh, the guitar joke. Remember we had that guitar joke, everybody?
Something, anything. But yeah, no. Good times.
Good times. All right. Anything else you want to talk about here with Black Christmas? No, that's not the movie we're talking about. We're talking about Love at First Bite.
Love at First Bite.
We've strayed so far from Love at First Bite with good reason. You know what? It's a trifle. If this were to come on television, I would tell people, yeah, it's maybe worth a look. There's some charms to it. There's some good performances, and there are a couple of laughs. But get ready to be glad we've evolved as a culture.
Just be prepared for the rampant, racism and sexism, off-color jokes, and like I said, at a minimum, it's equal opportunity. No, I don't think any demographic is spared from the awful, offensive jokes. But if you could scrape past that, I mean, it's not without its charms. George Hamilton is very good, and you'll see a lot of great actors doing their best to elevate the material.
How about you, Heather? What's your final thoughts on this magnum opus?
I think there's a lot of wasted opportunity with this film, and that's what I think of when I think of it now. But I think HP is 100% right. I think the performances are great. If you are a fan of any of these actors, it's good to watch it for that, I think. But there are better horror comedies. There are better comedies with Dracula. Like, there's one I actually need to see, but I just read a really interesting article about Dracula and Son with Christopher Lee, and I would rather watch that.
Well, anything with Christopher Lee is better than watching this movie, like, just across the board. Even the worst of his movies. I'd rather watch his Fu Manchu movies than watch this again. That's
and those are problematic, but
yeah.
but agreed. But yeah, I mean, you could do worse. You could do a lot better.
Yeah, I've said my piece, I think, of this flick. So I think we're just gonna wrap it all up here in the Kulturecast. So when you're not here discussing the greatest vampire movie of all time, where can people find you, HP?
You can find me co-hosting the Wolf and Raisin podcast with yourself. And also co-hosting the Night Mr. Walters, a taxi podcast with Father Malone as well.
Oh my God, it's like we're joined at the hip or something. Heather, where can people find you?
You can find me over at my website, which is mondoheather.com. I'm also on Twitter, Instagram, and Patreon under @MondoHeather.
Remember that Patreon, y'all. We all like a cup of coffee. Be nice every once in a while. For me, you can find me at Weirding Away Media. I have too many shows to even mention, but I do have a brand new one called Astounding Tales of the Public Domain. They're enhanced audio performances of classic pulp science fiction from the 1930s through the 50s with authors like Ray Bradbury and stuff. And they feature a fantastic pieces of music composed by Mr. HP. So,
you're too kind.
In fact, the entire Weirding Way Media Network is awash in talent. There was a lot of great shows over there. So check us all out at weirdingwaymedia.com, y'all. And until next time, something Kulturecast catchphrase.